Oftentimes it's frustrating that the perception could be that we are not doing our job or that we're not doing it adequately. There are probably approximately 8,000 narcotics cases, arrests for felony narcotics cases per year.
In the Tenderloin, the first thing that you notice is it's a very dense neighborhood. There's about 25,000 people who live here. We have a lot of street-level crime here. So when you're driving around, when you're walking around, it's very common to see crimes happening. You see street-level drug dealing. You see people getting into disputes.
All the people that are standing around on the streets, creating an atmosphere that generates crime, drug usage. There's rampant alcoholism. To finance these kinds of problems, there is robbery, there is vandalism, there is public health issues. The sanitation problems in this neighborhood are horrendous.
Just walking down the street and avoiding the people who are out there selling the drugs, and also maybe at the same time looking on the ground to make sure that there are no types of paraphernalia or human waste products.
Residual crime that they bring with drug dealing, the robberies, the assaults, the abuse that goes on around drug dealing certainly has no place in any community.
Basically, it prevents me from enjoying the street itself. I don't socialize with my neighbors as much because I don't know what's going to happen outside on the street. Prostitutes frequent our street all times of the day in various stages of dress or undress. We always have traffic on the street with pimps or johns just circling the block in search of prostitutes. Also, there are condoms found on the sidewalk. There are needles found on the sidewalk. It's just not a safe place to be. I have to walk to the BART station, the 16th Street BART station, which is 3 blocks away, every morning to go to work, and I'm propositioned at least 10 times every morning. I see drug deals happening, in the open.
We get people who are cooking crack, shooting up heroin, selling, looking to sell drugs on our street as well. When the kids are going to school at the St. Charles School on the corner, the prostitutes are out here. And afternoon, there's quite a few prostitutes around when the children are getting out of school. There are johns circling our block at all hours looking to find a prostitute, and they're also looking at our children. And, it makes all of us very uncomfortable.
Children have no freedom. You don't see very many children on our streets, even though we have supposedly one of the largest concentration of children in the city. Children are in the hallways, they're at home, they are not allowed to come out unless they're under escort or they're in groups. Our playgrounds are all fenced in, they're all locked. Kids can be waiting for a school bus and there's someone defecating or urinating right beside them.
The surroundings also seem to intensify what we have to do in order to train our children. I would say that there's a lot more education, I would say. We'd have to say, you see that over there? You see those people over there doing the drugs? Those are things that you are not to do. There are parks that are occupied by people, by homeless, by drug dealers, and we just don't feel that the sanitary conditions warrant our children to play in such an area like that. So it's better that we take them out and take them to places that are cleaner.
Often there's that sense in the containment zone that the services aren't necessarily being delivered. It takes a while to get a police car out. It takes a while to get the report out.
Many try to portray prostitution as a victimless crime, and it's really not true. There's a lot of victims. The neighborhood is victimized by prostitution. The women that are actual prostitutes are often victimized by johns. The system kind of victimizes them the way it is.
All the women that we see come to us who are prostitutes, they have issues of substance abuse, they have issues of violence, being raped, being silenced. Many of them come with histories of violence, and that's what led them to prostitution.
Young men and young women are forced to survival sex. Just to survive and live in the streets, they have to sell their bodies.
Community crime is a huge problem here. The people that live here tend to get along really well. It's the people that commute in here that create the problems for the people that live here.
We feel like we're being preyed upon by people from other areas who are doing illegal activities in our block.
A lot of young women, a lot of men that are selling their bodies on the streets has very low self-esteem. They need to have their families more healthier.
I think containment zone is really the perception of a lot of residents, merchants, and property owners here that outside of the 50 block area known as the Tenderloin, that certain things are acceptable or not acceptable, and that in the Tenderloin they are acceptable. Officers will tell us that I can pick somebody up, but they'll only be off the street for 4 hours. And so what we see are people who are in and out of the criminal justice system really for lower level possession, trespassing, these kinds of things. And to the extent that they're not really staying in the system and they're not getting patched up with services, it's a revolving door.
The lack of results, it keeps people from really voicing out what they feel. It keeps people from getting involved in the community. And because a lot of it's revolving around fear, because the same person that they report gets out 3 or 4 hours later and they see that person on the street.
Because San Francisco has lighter sentences or lighter, even lighter threats or repercussions for these activities, we are inviting these people into our neighborhoods.
I've actually gone to the precinct meetings, and their statement is that they can arrest women. They've arrested some of them over 50 times, but all they do is process them and they release them because the DA has said that it's very difficult to prosecute prostitution cases.
The biggest obstacles, probably one of the first eye-openers for me was the volume in narcotics. And what's alarming to me and of concern for members of my team is the fact that we don't have that many courtrooms to deal with these kind of cases.
I've heard estimates of 1/3 of all the arrests in the city are made in the Tenderloin. If that's a good indicator of what the problem is, then we need to have 1/3 of the city's resources here confronting these problems.
A lot of times people want to emphasize law enforcement or the district attorney or the courts. Our component is to emphasize property owner accountability. So one of the things that we do is we get property owners to look at their role. I think that community courts, for example, emphasizing immediacy of consequences, reliability and consistency of consequences, and really emphasizing social services can start to turn that around in a neighborhood like the Tenderloin.
More heavy consequences, more penalties, having the parole officer keep up more with this, offenses, I think it would be a key to, the whole situation.
We have a serious need for more police, more patrols. We also need a heavy-duty amount of community police involvement.
We would like to see more foot patrol.
I would like to see the police run some type of sting or undercover operation consistently for 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, I think we've already established a pretty good dialogue with the district attorney's office. We're doing some good things right now. We've just started a program at 16th and Mission in which the drug dealers that deal around 16th and Mission are getting their charges enhanced by being within 1,000 feet of a school. This was not done before.
I have worked with young people in the Mission community for probably 28 years right now, and their biggest need right now is employment ready. Also educational programs to build a safety net when they do fall out of the regular schools, what happens to them.
Law enforcement must take much more effective leadership in prevention and intervention of drugs and alcohol.
With the resources presently available, I'm very pleased at what our team is able to accomplish. But it would be very helpful if we had more courtrooms available to handle the volume that we have of these types of cases. We work very closely with the captain of the narcotics division to keep the open line of communication as to any new strategies they may be employing so that we're aware of what is happening on the street, so to speak. We are employing stay-away orders. Oftentimes communities are concerned that persons who are dealing are perhaps back in the area, and if the person is eligible for probation and gets it, we will obtain a stay-away order to preclude them from going back to that same area to engage in that same kind of activity. We've also been very vigilant about school enhancement cases. I would like the public to be aware that we are here as public servants to really assist and where we can with the limited resources that we have. We are aware, as I said earlier, to keep abreast of what community concerns are and be responsive.